Today with Caroline at Rediscovering Real Love. And today we're going to be talking about the subject of change. Yes, I know you heard it over and over again. I know you probably attempted it. I know you've probably already done it, doing it. But I want to hopefully give you a different outlook and perspective on what change really, truly is. Because a lot of time we expect things around us and people around us to change, and we never look inwardly. Tolstoy said, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Or in this case, herself. Or themselves. Regardless. Change is not where you are, it's who you are. And so today I'm going to give you 6 points. Yes, only 6. That you need to either do or get rid of to start your change. And even if you've attempted before and failed, or even if you are changing, even constantly doing it, it's okay to look at it again and again and again, so that we are working the steps over and over again, because practice do make perfect. So I'm going to give you a moment to grab a pen and a notebook, or even if you have your iPhone in there, it has notes. You can jot these down in your notes on your iPhone. But I'll give you a moment while I sit here and look cute. All right. Ready? Point number 1, consecration. Yes, consecration. Some of you may have only heard this in biblical references or in the church setting or when it comes to spirituality. But yes, consecration is just not something you do when it comes to church. It's something we should constantly do daily, because we should be constantly cutting off things or people that are not helping us to make changes, or focusing or worrying about them so much, and our mess still remains unchanged. So consecrate yourself. What does that mean? What does that look like? It means getting prepared, getting grounded, getting focused, tunnel vision. Where do I want to see my life? What is it going to take for me to get there? What changes do I need to make? Get tunnel vision right there, consecrate, and then you cut out and you drown out every other voice. Everything else that's not benefiting you, that's not helping you, that's actually keeping you causing you to be stuck and stagnant. You need to be able to cut that stuff off and prepare yourself. Point 2, and I'm going to get to these rather quickly, and I may give you an example of each of them. But when I was getting ready to move from Louisiana to Sioux City, I didn't hear the term consecration. Really didn't, until I gave my life to Christ and got a little further along in my walk. It's when I began to hear the word consecration and understood what it was. But I suppose I was in the midst of that, already doing it without understanding the term. But I was focused. I knew that I needed to prepare myself to leave from there to get to here. And guess what? And I couldn't take everything with me, and certainly couldn't take everybody with me. I had my babies and I had some of my clothes. Everything else had to stay there, and I had to move forward. And then the next thing I want to be able to share, and this is a real story, and I should have shared this in the beginning before I got to the points. But there was a young lady that moved from a certain city, and I won't say her city. I won't even say her name. I'll keep that anonymous, just in case she ever tune in. I don't want her to think, oh, she's using my story, and you know how that goes. So I asked her the same question many people ask me. Why did you leave from Louisiana to move to Sioux City? I asked her that question. Why did you leave from your city to come here? And her response was, I was always in trouble. Nothing was working right for me. Nothing was going good. I needed to get away. It was toxic and on and on and on. And I get that. I understand all that. And so a couple of months later, I found out that she went to prison. And why is that? Why am I sharing that? Well, like, why, you're probably asking, why are you sharing? Here's why. It's not where you are. Change is not about where you are. It's who you are. And until you do the work in you, you're going to take that same negative, nasty attitude, behavior, mentality, conduct, all that with you wherever you go. And you're just going to mess up that place. In my case, the change before I even came to Sioux City, because had I not changed, I would have came here and got in trouble myself. I thank God that I realized the change had already started in me. Okay, I had to start adjusting my attitude, my behavior, my conduct, all that. And then I moved here. And I continue to do the work. And I'm constantly doing the work. Because change is gradual. It's not overnight. It's gradual. This is a daily process. You have to work at this daily. And it's never ending. You should always want to wake up every single day and figure out those things in your life that you know you need to change, that are hindering you, that's holding you back, that's setting you back, that's causing you to be stagnant. I want to be able to change those things daily. And you can pick one area. You can start with one area. That's why I wanted to share her story. And I was like, wow. We have to understand that everything does not deserve a response or reaction. I felt bad when I heard that. Oh, that happened to her because she had small kids. But that's just reality, folks. You have to do the work in you, and you're going to hear me in most of my videos say, do the work. I'm going to give you these 6 points, but if you don't start the work and you don't do it and you don't implement it, put it in place, it's not going to help you at all. It's not going to be beneficial at all. Right? You're just going to be wasting ink or pen or whatever you're writing with or on. Okay, we're going to go to point 2, habits. What are those bad habits that you have? Those habits that keep you stuck, stagnant, and bitter, at a standstill in your life. What are those bad habits? Are you a job hopper? You're always from job to job to job and can't get to where you need to be, get grounded in that area. Bad habit of smoking, drinking. Bad habit of always saying yes when you know you can't or you shouldn't. Bad habit of staying up all hours of the night eating junk food. What is it? What are those bad habits? Those habits that are just keeping you stuck, hindering you, not helping you to get to where you need to be. One of my bad habits was watching too much television and too much junk on television. Had a bad habit of it. Now, I never had a bad habit of staying up all hours of the night because I love my sleep. I believe in it. I still do try to practice getting into bed at a very early time so I can get up early and get my day started and all that. But I had a bad habit of just watching too much junk on television. And when I realized there were so many other important things that I could have been working on or doing, or even reading the Bible or self-help books, encouraging things, I could have been doing that and I wasn't. And so I had to cut that. Now, did I go from watching too much TV to watching no TV? Absolutely not. I would be lying if I told you that. Because remember, nothing happens overnight. And it's not always good to just cold cut something, because then you'll find yourself binging. So I still watch television. I just don't watch as much, and I don't watch the junk as much. I love reality television. Yes, I do. But I try to find something with a positive message, something that's encouraging, something that could help me. Okay? So, what are your habits? Only you know what they are. And the areas I need to work on, I can just share, but that may not be the areas you need to work on. So what are your habits? So when you're writing these points, write them vertical. Don't write them horizontal. Write change and then write your points right next to each one of these letters. because I want you to be able to see the word change at the beginning of all this, because this is what we're working on, change. And it starts within you. So consecrate yourself, check those habits, what those habits, and replace them with good things. Point 3, attitude. Attitude. And if nobody else understands attitude, us women, we know. I have 2 small granddaughters, and let me tell you, they have a big personality, big attitude. And I don't know what it is with me and those girls. Now, the grandson and I, we get along just great. Love them all the same. But those girls, ooh, big attitudes. But what is your attitude? Toward yourself, toward others, toward life? And how do you need to adjust or align that to line up to where you're going, where you're headed? Because remember, you take that same stanky attitude to where you're going, and you'll mess up that place you're trying to get to. So you have to check your attitude. There's also a scripture in the Bible that talks about the eyes being the window to the soul. And if the inside of you are darkened, then when you look at things, you don't see no good in it. So we have to adjust our attitudes. And how many of you know that attitudes do create atmospheres? It does. How many of you sat in a room where the vibe was good, the energy was good, and someone walk in with the nastiest attitude and just turn that off, completely off? And then you can cut the tension with a knife. Been there, done it. And vice versa. Maybe you walked in the room with the nasty attitude and just messed everything up, the mood up, the vibe, and everything else, and cleared the room. It's so important for us to adjust our attitudes. And I know that I had a big one. And I thank God for helping me to see it and helping me to change it. And now every day that I wake up, I thank God that I wake up with a good attitude. Even if the day is gloomy or not right. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it's Monday, and they dread it. I love it. I thank God that I can wake up with a different perspective, optimistic mindset. That even if it's not good, I can find some good out of it. And so adjust the attitudes. Okay? And then I'm going to go to point 4. Negativity. Negative thinking. All the negativity. You are what you eat, believe it or not. And so if your attitude is not right, the negative thoughts going to keep coming. You're going to feast up on it, feed on it, and before you know it, everything around you is negative. You can't see no good in nothing and no one, not even yourself. We have to check the negative thinking. They're going to come. Negative stuff going to come. That's life. But it's how you respond to it that can either make it better or make it worse. So what are the negative thoughts that always bombard you when you're trying to do something different or better and make changes? What are the negative thoughts? List them and then replace them with something positive. Point 5, the Good Samaritan syndrome. Put that on the side. This is the person that always say, yes, I'll be there. Yes, I'll go. Yes, I'm coming. Yes, I'll take you. Yes, I'll have it. Yes, I'll give it. Yes, I'll loan it. On and on and on. Your yes, yes, yes. And then you feel guilty about saying no. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying don't be the Good Samaritan, because there are times I am, but I've learned to set boundaries and limits. If I can't be available, I'm not going to be available. If I can't give it, I'm not going to give it. If I don't have it to loan, I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm talking about the good Samaritan syndrome, that person that just never say no. Especially when it leaves you irritated, frustrated, mad, broke, bitter. That's when it's horrible. So if you're that type of person, and every time you're available to somebody else and you're frustrated or you're mad or you regret you did it or was there or available or loaned it or gave it and all that, you're making it bad for yourself and even worse for the other person. because then you set no boundaries and no limitations on them. So they feel I can always call you or her and they're going to be there. Always. Don't set people up like that. So learn to say no and give yourself permission to say no. You can't do it if you can't. There's nothing wrong with that. And let me tell you something. Even if you can, I've learned that if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it, because all it does is make me upset if I force myself to do it, or if I feel obligated to do it. I'm just going to get mad and irritated, and then next time probably be upset with you for no reason, and you had no idea. So even if you don't, it's okay to say no. You may not just want to do it. You may just want to relax and kick back and just chill. You don't always have to be the Good Samaritan. Okay, point 6. Excuses, excuses. And we all have them. We've all used them. We all know that we can pull one out of a hat quick, fast, and in a hurry without hesitating. Without thinking about it twice. Excuses are not going anywhere. They're going to always be ready and available. You just have to find an alternative. Just like we plan for trips and vacations, we can plan, where do you want your life to go? Where do you want to see yourself in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? Where do you want to be financially, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, physically? All of those areas of your life. What change do you want to make? Then guess what? Plan it out. If this happens, and I know life is going to happen, it's going to throw us curveballs. That's the inevitable. Those things are going to happen. But guess what? We don't have to always use the excuse, even if it's a good excuse. Let's find an alternative. So if this doesn't work, what about this? If that doesn't work, what about that? If this doesn't work, what about that? And we always have to find, just like we could always find an excuse, let's always plan to have an alternative, just in case. Because as you are planning where you want to see your life go, where you want to head, that's your opportunity right there to insert those alternatives, just in case. And we've all heard people say, keep a spare tire. Most times they use it in terms of relationships. I'm not talking about that. I'm not going to encourage you cheating or having a spare tire and all that in that aspect. I'm talking about alternatives. Just in case this plan doesn't work, what about this here? Let's plan that out. And I think a lot of times that's what we don't do, because we allow so many other things to usurp up our time, like the negative attitude and the bad habits and those things. So let's get grounded. Let's get focused. So I've given you your 6 points, and hopefully this will help jumpstart you into making the changes that you need to make for yourself, for your life, for the better. I've encouraged you and inspired you to start today. And don't forget to like, click, and subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell so that you will be notified on upcoming videos. Thank you for tuning in at Rediscovering Real Love with Caroline.